we will learn about accumulators in Spark. So in Spark, accumulators are variables which are shared among the worker nodes. These variables or shared variables are used to perform counter and sum operations. So let's go through a program to understand how accumulators work. So I'm importing a library called FindSpark. It is basically used to locate the l- path where Spark is installed in my local setup. You need not import it in the production system if you are using Spark there. So yeah, so find Spark I have imported and I am initializing it. Now I will import the Spark modules. Now I'm creating a Spark session using which we will be able to write the Spark program, connect to the Spark cluster and write the Spark program. We have to give any name to the Spark session. So I'm just giving a random name called accumulator demo. So let me explain this line to you briefly. So we have this builder function using which the Spark session is built. App name is used to define the name of the app. It can be any user defined name. And using this get or create function, what it does is if the Spark session is already created, it returns that Spark session instance or it creates a new one. So this is the functionality of get or create function. So our Spark session called Spark is created now. Now I will create a Spark context instance because we need Spark context to create an accumulator variable. We'll see how do we do it. So say our accumulator variable is sc dot accumulator 0. This 0 is basically the initial value of the accumulator variable. Now let's write a function called count rows to count the number of rows in the data frame. So inside this function count rows, what we are going to do is we will just add 1 to this accumulator variable. So this accumulators in FindSpark support two functions or two methods, which is one of them is add and another one is value. So first we will see how add works. So when we perform add operation on an accumulator variable, it adds that value to the variable. So in this example, we are adding 1 to the accumulator variable. So initially, say accumulator variable is value is 0. So when we'll add 1, its value will become 1. And again, when this function will be called, we'll again add 1 to this accumulator variable and its value will become 2, and so on and so forth. So this is how the add function will work. So now let's create a data frame you by reading some data from a CSV file. So we have a CSV file here, riders.csv already in my system. So I'm importing, not importing, reading that file using spark.read.csv function. So this is our data frame. So now let's run that the count rows function on each of the rows of the data frame. Yeah. So in this statement, we are running a for each loop, which will loop through each of the rows of of this data frame, and it will call the count rows function for each row. And whenever each row is called, there will be an increment done in the accumulator variable. So this will help us to get the total number of rows in the data frame. Another way to find the total number of rows in a data frame is using the count function. So it is an action function which we can perform on a data frame. Now we have to print the value of the accumulator variable. So we can print its value using the value operation here, or the value method. So now we are printing the total number of rows in the data frame using two methods. One is through the direct this count operation, and the other another one is through accumulator. So ideally these two values should match, because these two both represent the number of rows in the data frame. So let's run this code and see whether we are getting the correct output or not. So t- there is some issue in the code. So let's see, from PySpark.sql import Spark session. It looks correct to me. It is saying, okay, it should be from PySpark.sql import Spark session. No module named. Okay, wait. So here using this conda activate ds, I have just initialized the virtual environment. Just started the virtual environment in which my Spark library is installed. So now if we run, it should give me the correct value. Let's see. Yeah. So this is just a warning which we can ignore. It is coming because we are running the Spark in a local platform. It doesn't have any in Hadoop in the backend, so that is why we are getting this warning. We can ignore it. It's not none of it's not an issue which we should bother about. So now if we see, um, the output for df.count is 75,000, and the output for accumulator variable.value is also 75,000. It means that using the accumulator variable, we are correctly able to find the or calculate the total number of rows in this data frame. So just for demo, I can just print this data frame so that we can just have a look of like how this data frame looks like. So yeah, so this is how the data frame looks. It's read from the CSV file, writers.csv. It has some 7 or 8 columns, and the top 20 rows are being displayed here. And again, we can verify that okay, the count of rows in the data frame is coming same using both the methods. So it means that our accumulator variable approach is working fine. So let me know if you have any doubt in the comment section, and if you like the video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.